Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast, the podcast that is passing wisdom to the next generation of athletes, coaches, and parents to transform leaders on and off the court. And in today's episode, we get the privilege and opportunity to interview Coach Stephen Hodge. Stephen Hodge is the varsity basketball coach at Pacifica Christian High School in Santa Monica and also is a co-founder of Breakthrough Sports. In our conversation today, we talk all aspects of coaching in sports, specifically around helping players develop self-awareness, talking about the importance of development, and also how to be a coach that is a well-rounded individual and gives kids everything they need, from the truth to encouragement and even more. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Bridging Impact Podcast. Coach Hodge, I'm excited to have you on today to have our discussion on Breakthrough Sports, talk a little basketball, and really talk about the development of kids. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive right in. We'd like to ask the easy softball question right away, but what kind of impact has the game of basketball made on you?
Impact. I fell in love with the game in 87, 88. Michael Jordan generation kid. So, watching fadeaways and dunk contests and MVPs and, the whole allure that came along with him. From the sneakers to the way he walked, I then followed that and chased that down to, Allen Iverson, who looked more like us, sub 6-footers, wanting to put the ball in the basket. And, the game has been everything to me. So it's impacted my life by pretty much engulfing my life and dictating, how I move about my life. Basketball taught me life.
Right, which is one of the most powerful things about sports. Can you talk about, kind of some of the experiences that you've had in basketball? I know you got an opportunity to play overseas and I'm sure meet and connect with so many people, but what have some of those experiences brought you?
Oh man, you talk about everything. Once again, basketball was, it made such a great impact on my life. And one of the reasons that I push sport, not specific to basketball, I push the idea of sport, not only on, my children, but, to everyone else that will listen, is that I learned life through basketball and, accountability, learning how to take instruction from coaches, learning how to be a teammate, learning how, conflict resolution, showing up every day, learning how to get better one day at a time, taking criticism, things that a lot of our young athletes today just struggle with in this new age of basketball or sport overall. So, for me, some of these journeys, whether it was, high school, whether it was college, or whether it was playing international basketball, there were so many different things that happened, from, conflict, like I said, conflict with teammates and learning to gauge, what my role is on a team, which for some reason in this generation, people have a hard time with, or some of our kids have a hard time with, struggling with role identity on teams, or whether that's a coach clearly defining it, or whether that's just, the mentality of, if I don't score, then I don't have any value, or if I don't start, I don't have any value, or if I'm not the star, I don't have any value, and learning to fit in. But sports, pretty much has taught me everything. I've had so many different moments and so many different times where I had to, rise to the occasion or just accept that I wasn't and get better. Or, but it's just so many different things, man, that I've taken from it and gained from it and learned from it and continue to push, because I believe sport overall is the gateway to teaching life. You know what I mean? And so I pushed my was a dancer, but now she's starting to get more into sport. And my son, who I push, and I'm like, because I have a sports company, he's kind of having a buffet of sort of all sports. But eventually, they'll both play on teams, and I think that's the goal, is to get them in front of other adults and competent, leaders that can sow into their life and, help them, develop as humans. Because I think being on a team and playing a sport is the greatest parallel to life.
I 100% agree, and that's why Bridging Impact's all about transforming leaders on and off the court. And I'd love to kind of explore that buffet of sports that Breakthrough Sports is offering. But before I kind of dive into that, you touched on it a little bit. You talked about kind of the new age of sports and managing like role identity. And so for those like the coaches and parents that are listening and want to like kind of support their athletes and encourage them, right? Like everyone wants to be the star, the bucket, the guy doing the combo crossovers, and but that's just not realistic, right? A lot of people have to play different roles where they may only score 2 to 4 points a game, but they're pivotal into someone's your defense and like flow of an offense like Draymond Green. So can you talk a little bit more about how you coach, kind of this newer generation and some of the challenges we're navigating as coaches?
You gotta attack it. As a coach, you gotta attack it. When I say it, I mean the idea that everyone is coming to the stage in anticipation of being a star. And in sport or in life, that's not always the case. As a matter of fact, it's sometimes nowhere near the case. I had this workout that I developed years ago. Haven't really had time to really invest into growing it and thinking about it and really scaling it. But it was called the Team Hodge Superset, and this idea was that it was going to unite the idea of the the physical aspects of the game meeting the skill aspects of the game and training them together, because in a game you don't have the opportunity and the option to really compartmentalize. You have to use your skill, you have to use your body. So in it was really centered upon the idea of strengthening every single part of the game while also allowing the non-stars to have a role, and having the stars recognize what it's like to rebound, to handle the ball, to shoot the ball, to screen. And while I was putting together this workout, I spent a year at Caltech as the assistant coach, as the first assistant at Caltech. And Doc Oliver, who's one of my best friends, is very cerebral, intelligent, hyper intelligent to say the least, and he's on the NBA analytics board. And this afforded some
Okay.
insight into exactly what was happening during the time of the analytics boost. And so I started to get into it.
Mm.
And if you know anything about basketball, analytics takes you deeper into the numbers. Exactly what a player is doing on the floor, how they're contributing, how they help the team with their time on the floor, what they do well, what they don't do well, and how they might be able to be used in a better capacity, right? So I got this graph, and I can't remember where the source was, but it talked about what players did on the court. It absolutely stunned me to find out that, like, I think it was like 15% of the game is spent doing the skill things. Um, Another big piece of that pie was spent running, jumping, screening, waiting for something to happen, hands bent, so being bent over, hands on knees, timeouts. It accounted for everything that happened. And what blew my mind and what stood out to me was, if 15% of the time you're worried about the skill, that means that I can go even further and say that only a fraction of that percentage is spent with the ball in the hands of people that the coach trusts, right? So if you've got a very
Right.
small percentage of the basketball game being spent with the ball in your hands, why in the world would you spend your summers and your off time investing and spending money and training your game to be the primary dominant ball handler, scorer, and that blows my mind. As opposed to uh, the Draymond Green aspect, where I'm gonna rebound, I'm gonna run the floor, I'm gonna set screens, I'm gonna run the offense, I'm gonna reverse the ball. I'm gonna sit down defensively, I'm gonna be in the help side, I'm gonna do all the things in basketball that will make me an overall good, solid player, and do things that would help my team. And if I'm even cerebral enough, I have people behind me, like my family and my teammates supporting me and my coaching staff, things that coaches, college coaches, or whatever the next level is, are looking for, because not every is looking
Right.
for a star player. Those kids are probably, once you get those, you're surrounding your team with role players. So that's where I am with that. It blows my mind as a coach to have to fight to engage the mind and the mindset of you everyone on this team is not going to have the ball in their hands every single time, crossing over, doing step backs, euros, finishing, making the decisions. So why not work on your overall game?
I love that. And I think that's so important. And as someone that's in the player development space, like what kind of like I guess drills, but like how do you work on your game, like right with outside of the ball? Because that's the only thing you ever see drills for is pretty much like, especially for personal thinking about training, is only on ball primary defender, so like or primary ball handler. So what are some of the aspects you think to like develop that overall game?
Well, for me, I think when we talked offline, we talked about um, I think my ball handling idea, right? And we're meant to
Yes,
be
yes,
some type of, for me trying to show how intelligent I was about the game or how cerebral I was. It was like, well, this is what really happens in a game. Regarding ball handling, which is what you see, on social media. You're going to see a lot of that, a lot of, on ball moves, a lot of drives from the wing, the top, and the wing. But the truth of the matter is when you talk about ball handling specifically, just for instance, using ball handling, right? You got three pieces of ball handling. If you're a ball handler, or if you're competent or within
yes,
this the framework of what your team is doing, you gotta advance the ball. That's a bunch of drills in itself that can be put together to help understand how to keep the ball centered, how to utilize the dribble, how to utilize getting by someone, using the entirety of the floor. The floor is 94 by 50. When you're advancing the ball and you've got someone in front of you trying to strip you of the ball or try to keep you in front of, keep you in front of them or take time off the clock. If you're a high level defender, you got to recognize that you got to be able to handle the
right,
ball, got to be competent and strong with the ball. And you have a referee counting, and you also, have other things happen. Now, once you advance the ball from the back court into the front court, now, if you're a primary ball handler, you're responsible for running an offense. Now, you once again have a
right,
defender in front of you or a team of defenders in front of you, and their job is to stop you from scoring. So you have to understand, how to position your body, how to handle the ball, how to get things moving for your teammates, put people in their place as well, while someone's guarding you and while a referee is counting if you're closely guarded, right? Once you
right.
do that, generally speaking, come on, coach, you know this, you've been coaching for a while. Most offenses initiate with a pass to the wing, right? So on the
Right.
wing now, this is what we see on Instagram and social media is the domination of drills attacking. You know what I mean? Attack. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Second move, third move, Euro step back, snaking
Yep.
the high ball
Yep.
screen, if you will, right? But the truth is, that's not all of ball handling. We're only chopping it up into one thing. And I think every piece of it should be broken down. And that's with anything shooting the ball, passing the ball, all of the details within an offense. I think kids aren't learning how to screen anymore. They're not learning how to L
No.
cut and B cut to get open anymore. They're not re B cutting. They're not understanding, the shot clock and how you have to engage in your offense, how you have to sprint the floor because, once that clock starts, you don't have much time. Understanding how to use the skill set that they worked on all summer long with a trainer by themselves, with their teammates, how to utilize that skill set, how to score within the offense given to them. And that the offense isn't there to stifle, it's there to be an orchestra, an orchestra of the sense. And everyone's skill set is lended to this band and this orchestra, and it's supposed to flow beautifully. And someone might be a great shooter, someone might be a good attacker getting in the lane. Someone might be a great screener. Someone might be a good post up guy. Someone might be a great reverse guy. So it's like breakdown of these
Right.
skills is so important and is being lost in the midst of the social media high ball dominant era. And I'm not knocking the trainers and the coaches who subscribe to that because I do believe that there are athletes and players that should be doing that.
Right. But not every
Boom.
athlete.
Boom.
There we go. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm curious, like, do you ask like as a head varsity coach, do you ask, like, hey, like, what do you think your role is? Do you tell the role? Like, how do you help, create like and cultivate self-awareness? Because I think that self-awareness in on the basketball court then lends, kind of like we were talking about, is a vehicle, right, to eventually be like, hey, this is my self-awareness. Maybe like in the working world, I'll be good in finance. Maybe I'll be good as a teacher, because I think those are some of the things that we want to help, start cultivating for the athletes, as they move on beyond
Right.
the
I
court.
think the key word, the key terminology you threw out there was self-awareness. And I do believe,
Yeah.
not to be the old guy, get off my lawn, get off my lawn. But 3 years
Yeah.
old, there's something to be said about the self-awareness of the kids. And I've got children myself, and those are things that I'm actually seeing them, develop and, at times struggle with. So, you know, what I did and what I made a practice of, I coached um, at an Armenian school, AGBU, a few years back. Absolutely
Yeah. Okay.
loved those kids. They loved me back. They taught me about their culture. I taught them about the game and my culture as well. It was a beautiful time. We won some games, girls and boys. But I remember having a role, uh, like these role meetings where there was a sit down pre-season, and I would tell them what was expected of them, um, what what specifically I would want or the team needed from them, and how it would help the team, how it would benefit the collective. I did it again this year as well with my team, and we, my assistant coach Steve Sohn, he and I sat in one of the classrooms, during film, and we had kids come one by one, and we had taken some time, and we wrote down their roles, almost like an interview. So with Breakthrough Sport, a lot of interviewing.
Right.
So this was easy for me. We had it written down, like, this is who you are. This is what we need you to do to be great asset for this collective, all the way down to the numbers. One kid might be, hey, listen, we're expecting anywhere between 8 and 10 points. We're expecting anywhere between 15 and 20 points. Defensively, we're going to need you to be a dog on the ball. We're going to need you to be the guy who reverses the ball and keeps the team, together. Hey, you might be you might be the captain this year, and although you may not play much, we're going to need you to do blah blah blah. So I think what it does is it gives you a clear boundary and clear, distinct expectations, so that you can not only help the team, but in essence, it should teach these kids how to train and what they should be on. Right? It doesn't mean that you stop them, you tell them don't work
Right.
on their overall game, but it's definitely a vehicle that can help not only the collective but the kid. And my analogy for that is like when you get a dog, what I mean, puppy or adopted, that dog is going to be an incredible animal for you if they know their boundaries. They know what's expected of them. They know where to use the restroom. They know when to bark. They know how hard the bite
Right.
is. What's a playful bite? What's a bite that can hurt? And I think it's fair, to say that you can even hold people accountable once you give these clear boundaries and expectations. But boom, back to your point, it still comes down to self awareness. Not every player will accept their role.
Right. And that's like the never ending challenge of a coach. And I really like how you did it. And you talked about it as like just creating crystal clear clarity for players to know exactly what to maximize and spend most of their time training and developing. Not that they can't go on the wing and still work on some things and like, kind of enjoy the process of having fun and becoming a better basketball player. But if you really want more minutes, you want to maximize your role on the team and build like a championship team, then everyone's got to play their part in the orchestra, like you were talking about. And that's like a certain level, right? High school varsity basketball, and as me and you both know, not everyone gets to that level. And breakthrough sports sounds like it gives an opportunity for a lot of athletes that don't get the opportunity to reach that level, or at least exposes them to the opportunities to potentially do that. So, could you share a little bit more about what breakthrough sports is and the vehicle it is to teach life?
It's a powerful stage. It's a powerful tool that I'm a part of. My partner Champ Beginski and I, when we started the company for almost 5 years ago, the idea was to provide an elite sports specific um, program, not only for the elite athletes, but for the majority of athletes. And as you know, numbers will show that although we all enjoy watching professional sports and listening to talk radio and podcasts regarding our favorite athletes, only a very small percentage of athletes will ever become those athletes. And that's going all the way down from college to varsity basketball, and so on, so forth. So with that being said, there's also some older studies that talk about the number of kids who walk away from sport by the time they're like 11 or 12. And if you go back, if I can refer back to one of my original statements when we first started, sports is a great platform to teach life. So if you've got, I don't know, 75, 80% of kids walking away from sport at 11 or 12 or 13, what I mean? It's basically stripping away a a layer of teaching, a layer of something that could be a tool. You're stripping a tool away from a kid. And not even that, we got video games, we got social media. And of course, you got the dark side of, of what life can be for a teenager. Where are they going to go? Because not everybody's an academic, All American, so to speak. So if they're not playing sports and they're not, engulfed in video games, they're not engulfed in social media, like what are these kids doing with their time? Where are they learning life from? I mean, it's not to say that it can't be dance or it can't be acting, something of that magnitude, but we wanted to create a legitimate, viable company that had an educational component, a foundational teaching instruction part of sport, because I believe wholeheartedly, and I say it all the time, competence breeds confidence. You can see it 1,000 times. You walk in any gym, especially pre-COVID, you walk into any gym with kids who are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and you can immediately, point out the elite kids, the kids that can dribble and shoot or throw the football far or run the football or, you know, hit a home run, and you can see those things immediately. But once again, the most of the teams at the youth level are comprised of kids who are just learning the game. So when they're not competent and they're not being taught, the overall game, the rules of the game, the skills of the game, breaking it down to them, they don't have the confidence. But yet, every Saturday and Sunday, these teams around the world and around our country specifically show up. Moms have Capri Suns and the orange slices, and the kids have the uniforms and the kits, and it's shiny and brand new sneakers and cleats and bats and whatever they may have. And a majority of them don't know what they're doing. And the referees are there. The coaches are yelling, whether they're volunteer coaches or whether they're real coaches or not, Um, and that can be intimidating for a kid. And that contributes eventually to them walking away and learning life through something else. So we wanted to make sure that we had something that was viable, um, high level instruction. And, my joke is we get more kids that show up with the tie dye socks and Jesus sandals than we do that are ranked nationally for their age group. And that's fine with us.
And that's important because those are the kids that oftentimes, like will not, pursue sports because they don't seek it out as a safe place, right? Like I'm in the club sports world now with 10U, and I can see how, kind of chaotic, you got yelling parents, you got, coach yelling because he's like trying to coach them like it's his high school team. I'm adding me, but it really, they have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm speaking a foreign language to them. So having those safe places is so important for kids. And can you talk a little bit more, like in depth into some of your programming, like what does it look like, and how can other coaches like myself learn about how to run effective like educational programming that like it really enriches
Well, I mean,
lives.
you and I talked offline about this. You're running an uphill battle in the AAU realm. It's a legitimate stage. I believe that a ton of athletes need that as well. Everyone needs to play for different reasons. Some just for they just need more minutes, more experience, more time with the game, just to get a feel for it. Some kids are looking for exposure, and other kids are just looking to see if this is for me, something that I want to pursue. You know, It'll, but for I think we're in a unique space for breakthrough. And if there would be any coaches listening to this, it's harder to teach than it is to coach. It just is. And one of the things that makes breakthrough tough for us, every company has their things. We're always trying and we're always looking to find instructors. I even stopped using the word coach. I'm looking for instructors, people who have a solid background in life, solid background in teaching, maybe a little coaching, people who can connect. And that's the thing right there. If you can connect with ages and parents, I think you don't have to be uh, incredible Phil Jackson like coach to get the job done. When you're teaching a jump stop or how to properly throw a ball or how to run bases or how to, even if it's football, when they're starting to hit, learning how to hit properly, all of those things are valuable, things to have. It's not just your X's and O's. It's so not. It's connecting with the kid because you never know. You might have an analogy or a drill or a metaphor or a game or anything or a story to tell these kids offline that might change their life, change their perspective of the game, and thus help them enjoy the game and learn the game more. And once again, that leads to that competence and that confidence. So with breakthrough, when we're looking for instructors, it's not just how well you do with X's and O's, because all jokes aside, we don't have a bunch of leagues. We're moving into that realm now. So with our 3-on-3 leagues with basketball, our volleyball leagues,
Yeah.
our T-ball leagues, which start at like 5 or 6, years old. You add those things, you couple those things with our academies, our school that we
Right.
offer, and our after school programs that are now starting to grow. And now you've got a nice, good meal of things to choose from, and there's something for everyone. If you're, a kid coming in and you're young and you want to learn the game, we've got our T-ball league, we've got our 3-on-3 leagues, and don't sleep on 3-on-3. I think Ice Cube was way ahead of his time. I don't know if he was doing it for the money or doing it for fame or trying to get these older heads together so we can see our heroes of the past. But 3-on-3 for teaching as a teaching component is incredible. You know, the feedback that we get with Breakthrough Sports, a lot of the times when it comes to leagues, you and I know this, coach. You get 1 or 2 kids that can dribble and pass. That's all you need. And once these
Yep.
kids aren't stupid, once they recognize that another kid can't catch or may not ever score or they throw air balls or they can't, they will take all the shots and do what their skill set knows how to do. And of course, some parents aren't
Right.
really privy to the idea of how this works and they get upset. And hey, my son or my daughter didn't touch the ball as much. They didn't get a chance to shoot. It didn't feel like they were being passed to and blah, blah, blah. Well, 3-on-3, there's only 6 people on the court. You know what I mean? There's people on the court, so
Right.
there's more space, there's more passing, and the way we run it is we mandate. We'll stop the game at any time. We don't have any problem stopping the game. We'll blow the whistle, not because you got it. We'll blow the whistle. I want you to jump stop right here. If you use your pivot, look what you see now. She's been open for like 3 minutes now. Now she might miss. But if you jump stop
Right.
and pivot, your vantage point opens up, and now she's open. Next thing you know, we blow the whistle again. We're live. Said, kid might make 1 shot during the year. A kid that doesn't make a shot all year long in that final game gets a pass, and that ball sits on the rim and it drops through. Everyone goes crazy. All the parents and all the kids go crazy, and it becomes such an enormous success and a feat for these kids. So we've got a big a big piece of programming that we do, but I believe it accomplishes the goal of teaching, allows us to be competitive, and also has something that not other companies have. A lot of the business model right now, and I don't knock it, is to find the best kids you can, put together some teams, and try to compete on the travel circuit or the AAU circuit. I don't knock it. It's for everything. It's something for everyone. But for the kids who aren't there yet,
Right.
and the parents who want their kids to learn and just want sport to be a part of their life, and a part of their menu, so to speak, for learning, that's what we're here for, man.
I love that. And I love that you talked about the difference between teaching and coaching because I think that's the biggest realization I've had as, quote unquote, a young coach is I remember my first year in practice, I'm like yelling at them, things that I knew from varsity basketball. And keep in mind, this is the seventh grade team. And they gave me the job at the last minute because there was no coach that wanted to coach the C team for the seventh grade. And I made a realization like, oh, I actually have to teach what I'm talking about. And so like each year I've had to learn like even more and more that I am a teacher more so than a coach. So it's like really interesting that you bring up that kind of instructional side of things, right? And I tell kids all the time, like I'm a teacher and the coach side of things, right? Like the motivator, the inspirer, like that comes along with being a teacher. But I do think the greatest coaches are great teachers. And as you've built this out and you're finding instructors, like what are some of the challenges to getting and putting together breakthrough sports? Because I'm sure you've had people come along, and this we talked again about this offline, like, hey coach, when are you going to put together a club team and this and that? Because it's like that's what's like mainstream, the main business model. But you obviously had to kind of go away from that to reach your core values.
Once again, back to that idea of self awareness. We know what we are. We know exactly what we are, and we don't run from that. Once again, in a business capacity, there are more non elite kids out there in the world who want to play sport and learn a sport than there are elite kids who are pursuing it as a means to college and potentially pro. So, as far as business goes, that works in our favor. We get more numbers that way. That's just the honest to God truth. But in addition, one of the hardest things that we encounter is we do run through instructors often. I don't like it, but it's our truth. And what we've done to accomplish this feat is by strengthening our training module, having more training when we get instructors. Um, in addition to that, it helps us when we're looking for new instructors. We know what our demo is, and we have a timeline and curriculum for every program that we have. So any instructor that comes aboard has a template, a solid template as to what to expect, and that also helps us kind of vet who we're looking for and what we're looking for depending on the program and the demo, because there's some places where some of these kids just want to have fun, you know so we have a curriculum for that. Physical education that doesn't really, it's not really, a strong mandate on, high level skill, stuff like that. And I think that right there helps us. But no matter what you say or what we say, we can train, we can vet, we can have, we can do the best we can do when we're looking and searching for these instructors. But generally speaking, we're going to get coaches who um, who have that coaching idea, as you said, X's and O's,
Right.
motivate, be tough, and I'm like, those all go in the coaching box. But can you teach? And all jokes aside, I remember more of my teachers than I do coaches. And I was a basketball player, playing at a high level. But I remember the teachers. And yes, I remember some coaches too, because there's love in coaching, there's love in instruction, and there's love in teaching. It all, fall under the love umbrella. But all jokes aside, there's so much love in teaching because you get someone vulnerable. When you don't know something, you're vulnerable. I mean? Ignorance is a vulnerability. So when any kid, whatever level, steps on that stage, field, court, whatever it is, and they're opening themselves up with this vulnerability to be taught something, it's got to come from a place of love. You know what I'm saying? That we
Right.
can't
Yeah.
teach. That's the truth. So sometimes we have to live with the best instructor we can find and try to put the best training in there that we can and hope that we get that love portion. And this is why a lot of our greatest instructors are dads. You know what I mean? Because they have that
Interesting.
background of
Yeah.
being a dad, as well as a coach. and there's that duality of love. So you know how to love on different levels. And that helps kids learn.
Yeah, the love on different levels like definitely resonates. And also what, is really compelling is that you have curriculums for different like demographics, right? So like instead of teaching everyone to be a hyper competitive, want to go and play elite basketball or elite soccer, elite football, whatever it is, like there's experiences with them that are just fun, right? And just fun and have them enjoy the game. And I think, sometimes like we can almost fall into the trap of like that's what we want to be. We like tie almost as coaches our ego into like, oh, I trained this kid and he went here and look how much he improved. But in reality, like some of the experiences and memories that they'll remember, like you're talking about, was just that love from the teacher. It's just kind of like sharing their love for the game.
Yeah, man.
So
I think I had a time during the season. We had a really good year at Pacifica Christian. We had a really good year, a historically good year for the school, and a great group of kids. Really great group of kids, skilled, all of that stuff. And I think what we were able to. I remember a moment specifically, Coach, and my guy David Benson, who I had. He came on this year to help out. He was the additional guy and the extra coach. You can train when you need to, a different ear, a different voice, just that additional body to help out with some of the duties of what we had to do. And I remember a moment where I recognized he's a younger coach, and I love him. Great energy, knows the game, played at a high level. Love everything he stands for. That's why I went after him. But there was a moment where I told him flat out, assume nothing. You're screaming out high level ideas. You're frustrated that they don't know these things. It's becoming a source of tension between all of the players because, I don't know how to do this. I haven't been taught this. Where am I supposed to go? But in the middle of this, you're trying to put a game plan together. You're trying to win games. You're trying to, really develop a culture and a family. And I told him with a straight face, assume nothing, man. You have to teach it. And I was like, bro, I can't right now teach you how to teach. And I'm like, I know that I'm not the most popular guy at times with the team. I said, but you just can't say they should know this already. If they don't, they don't. And it's your ability no matter how you slice it. And that means mid-season, we're just doing layup drills because we've missed, 5 layups last game. Fine with me. But at the end of the day, I'm like, if you neglect these things, I think neglect is like not loving on someone. If you have a child and you neglect to give them discipline, the world will show them discipline, right? Especially for the demo that the community that I come from. If you don't have discipline, you know, prisons will show you discipline. You know what I mean? That gun will show you discipline. You know what I mean? That job that refuses to hire you will show you discipline. So I'm like, you got to teach, man. You got to be able to teach, but you also got to be a coach, and that's hard to find. I think that's why the game is kind of going. It contributes to the game's not demise, but where it is right now. The perception of sport, the the utilization of it, not for love, but for personal gain only. Cloud likes, follows, subscribers, as opposed to the overall goal of the collective and understanding how beautiful it can be when you loan your gift and the things you've worked on to the team.
I love that. And there's like no better way to kind of put it. And it's about teaching, right? And like having the responsibility, right? If our team is not understanding something, to like go back and actually go through and teach it instead of assuming, right? And I think it's just, that's kind of the part of the job as a coach. And, you kind of mentioned, that, at times you may not be the most popular, person on the team. And can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on what you
Oh,
meant by that? Is that because you're the disciplinarian and they're making sure that they're, kind of following through and, you know, you're probably speaking truth, right? And sometimes, athletes want to hear what they want to
yeah.
hear.
Truth is truth, man. Whether you like it or not, we all been through the fire, and I think it really does a disservice to athletes or anyone for that matter, because eventually, the quote unquote real world takes over, and either you're an entrepreneur or you're a worker, which means you're part of a team, and you're lending your skill set for a piece of change to the collective, and the hope overall for the owner, if you're not the owner, or the coach, if you're, is to have the best the best overall experience that you can provide. And in that, it's surrounded by personal goals. In the real world, that would be I want to raise, or I'm looking to move up in rank in the corporate realm or whatever. But it becomes such a task of the chemistry of teaching, disciplining, loving, coaching, pushing, and I think it's an uncomfortable role for a lot of coaches. And some coaches just choose one thing. To me, I pride myself on trying to be a comprehensive man. And my definition of comprehensive man is being whatever you need to be for the moment. That means you've got to be well read, you've got to be disciplined, you understand, multiple layers of life, family, coaching, teaching, kids, faith, the world around you. But when you're there as a coach, it becomes very unpopular when you tell the truth. It becomes almost a headbutt when this truth is when an athlete believes that the truth is being told to hurt them as opposed to help them. And it's funny that, you know, you go back to being young and our parents would tell us, tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. And as an older man now, as a 43-year-old man, I understand my father was telling me that. Why? Not because he wanted to find out whether I was lying or not. He recognized that I've got to support you right or wrong, but I can't support you if the truth isn't out there, you know? So as an athlete, when these coaches fail or neglect to tell the truth, whether the families believe it, whether the player believes it, whether the coaching staff believes it, you are in a privileged position. And I always say this: parents don't come to practice. We practice more than we play. So when they come to a game, they're only getting a small glimpse of the monster that is, you know, the team. And the coaches, you sign up for it. You sign up to be, to be screamed at, to be hollered at, to be disliked, to be disapproved, to be, because everyone's a better coach than you. You know this coach. Everyone understands is a better coach than you. Everyone understands knows more than the game than you. Everyone, is looking at you when things don't go right or if they go wrong. But nonetheless, I think it says a lot about a coach who means sincerely the best for a kid. I had a moment this year where a parent actually almost put their hands on me. And that comes with the territory as well. That's not what we believe or stand for. I wouldn't do that. But I truly believe in that moment that what I was doing and what I was saying and what I was working for every day was starting to take hold in this particular young man. And I also believe as a parent that sometimes your ego can get in the way and it becomes extremely hard to allow this child to be sold into by someone else, to have their truth told or be held to a piece of accountability that might not be utilized in your home. So now there's a different standard of accountability somewhere else. And that might be, that can cause friction at times. But as a coach, this coach, you have to stand your ground. If it's done in love, if it's done with intention, you're going to spend more time during a season with this kid than probably their parent or their caretaker or some of their
Right.
teachers. And the world, especially, sorry to go here, coach, especially for young black men, is different. It's just the country we live in. It's a different perspective.
Yeah.
And once again, sports is the way to teach life. And I might be tough. Some coaches are always tough, but I'm not always tough. Sometimes I'm laughing. Sometimes I'm talking about sneakers. Sometimes I'm giving, some knowledge about how to treat the opposite sex. Sometimes I'm talking about school. Sometimes I'm making fun and making jokes. And sometimes I'm teaching life. But most of the time, those are all my seeds. All I'm doing is making deposits into the bank, making deposits all day, talking about your shoes, smiling, laughing, joking. How's your day? Deposits. And then when I have to take, now there's something I can take from. There's something in the bank I can make a withdrawal from. And unfortunately, in the eyes of during the game and during the height of competition, and once again we had a fantastic year, that can be lost, and it's not a popular position, but it's what you signed up for.
It's what you sign up for. I love that you talk about just being a comprehensive coach and, doing the little things, right? You're telling the truth, but you're also asking them about their day, talking about how they should, treat the opposite sex and kind of be disciplined in class and interact with their teammates. And so it's not just one. It's not, kind of talking about the responsibility of the coach is not just one thing. It's not to teach X and O's, it's to teach life. And, for the last question that I want to ask in the podcast is like, what do you hope your impact to be through breakthrough sports, or also, coaching as a varsity coach and wherever else
Oh
you've
man,
been coaching at?
I'll say it to the day I die. Sports is a gift given. If you know how to teach it, you understand it at a high level, and if you get the opportunity to present yourself in front of athletes, it will behoove you to become as comprehensive as you can. Attempt to be as comprehensive as you can. Not perfect, but as comprehensive as you can, so you can use your gift, your talents, your knowledge to help them pursue whatever it is that they're going to do and be. Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be pros. They'll be professionals in another setting, hopefully, if done well. So I could care less. That sounds crazy. I could care less about the sport itself. I care about the opportunity on that platform to influence, um, to uh, cheer on, to encourage, to test, to push, to challenge any and every one of the athletes, kids that I come across. And I do that in trying to be a comprehensive man off the court. So forget about the sport. I want to be able to leave an impression with every kid that I come. They don't always have to love me and like me, but I want to leave that impression, so they have something to take with them moving forward. It's greater than basketball or sport for that matter, breakthrough or with me coaching, and a lot of people just don't keep that in mind. And that's my goal.
I love it. That's a great goal, and I really appreciate I have a ton of notes from today and all the insight that you shared. Where can people learn more about Breakthrough Sports, about you, and if they want to reach out or
Yeah,
connect with
man.
you, what's the
Team
best place
Hodge
for that?
Hoops is my IG tag. Um, I'm a 43-year-old man. I can't handle but so many social mediums at one time. Um, Team Hodge Hoops, where you can find me, and how I live my life. I share that, with the world, my family, and the things that I do, and some of my beliefs and my values. Breakthrough Sports on Instagram and Facebook, TikTok as well. Breakthrough Sports LLC, and Pacifica Christian, if you're ever around, during the season. I know you're coaching as well, but anybody who's out there, you want to see a good game with some good kids, and come and check us out. So, Coach, I got to do this as well, man. I'm sorry, I am who I am. I appreciate your candor, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. It sounds like you have a heart for the game and for the kids, and for what you do. So, if there's anything that I can do to be of assistance, I am stupid busy. Between, breakthrough sports, coach, dad, and a husband.
Yeah.
But I still believe that, everyone meets on purpose, whether you found me on social media or whether we met at a gas station. But if there's anything, coach, that I can do to help further what you're trying to do, whether that's a phone number, a connection, some type of networking, or hey, can you stop by a practice, or hey, do you have a drill for me? Hey, whatever. Just use me, man. I'm here.
I appreciate you, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with me and our Bridging Impact community. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment, and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts, and this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself, so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.